Hello. My camera was acting weird. How is everyone? I am Tammy Mashtaberti, best-selling author of the book The Universe is Talking to You, and I help people tap into what I call the Divine Higher Helpline. And this is my weekly spirit boost. I am here live on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube every Thursday at noon Eastern to boost your spirit in some way. And I usually try to pull things from my own life or things that are going on or in my sphere, whether it be something with a friend, a family member, a client, students, questions that I get, something that I'm going through. And so today I want to tackle the phrase that I happen to believe is true. I'm going to state that first, but I'm tackling the phrase, everything happens for a reason. Have you ever been told that before? Oh, everything happens for a reason. Usually we are told that, or we think that when something horrible has happened to us, right? It's like, you get fired from a job, you get rejected by, a significant other, or, someone you're dating, an end of a relationship, whatever it might be. It's usually something horrible that has happened that makes us feel bad. And then the phrase, everything happens for a reason, pops up. And usually when we're in that moment, we think, I don't believe it. This is horrible. Why in the world would something like this happen to me? And I get it because I've been there. What happened with me is that I started finding the synchronicities. I started finding the reasons. Now, sometimes you can find that reason in the moment, and sometimes it can take a long time before the reason sort of makes itself known, which is why once I started finding proof, which I'm going to share with you kind of an easy way to do that. But once I started finding proof in my own life that, you know what, the universe really does have my back. There really is a meaning and a purpose to what looks like complete and total chaos. Here's the cat, of course. That looks like complete and total chaos in my life. Oh my gosh, I see it. I get it. And once you get it, here's the best part about once you get it. Not only will you believe everything happens for a reason in your life, but when something horrible does happen, which is when we usually hear that phrase or think of that phrase or try to make ourselves feel better or someone else feel better using that phrase, when something crazy or horrible does happen, you then can sit and go, wait a minute, I actually believe that everything happens for a reason. And the reason I believe it is I can go back and I've already found the proof in my life. I've already found those synchronicities. I've already found those things that link up. So now I know, you know what? This is what I always say. I have no idea why this is happening to me. I'm not happy this is happening to me, but I know there's a reason and I know it's leading me somewhere. And I always know that it's leading me somewhere better. It's leading me somewhere where I need to go. When something happens to you, good, bad, or indifferent, the reasons are it's leading you to something that you need to do. Sometimes it's redirecting you. Sometimes the universe has to redirect us through pain in some way to get us where we need to go, because otherwise maybe we wouldn't have made the move, right? So there have been so many things in my life. And again, I teach people, it's called my follow the footsteps exercise. And I'm going to share some of it with you so that you can start finding this proof for yourself. Because once you do, it's such a game changer. It's such a big difference. It changes the way that not only do you look at the world and your life, but the way that you look at everything that happens. Again, good, bad, or indifferent. Everything is leading me somewhere. What looks like chaos and randomness and stress and whatever, there's a reason for it, okay? So, and I'm going to show you how to do it, but I just want to give you some examples. So, I remember when I first started teaching this years ago, a friend of mine who was a medium I was telling her about it. I said, there's questions that, I've come up with these questions that we can ask ourselves and blah, blah, blah. And she was like, well, let me just test you. Let me just ask you something. I went to college for criminal justice and I'm not doing anything with that degree. I'm not doing anything with, I'm not doing anything that has anything to do with it. So why did I go to that college and why did I study criminal justice? And I was like, all right. So I started asking her some questions. And when I started asking her some of the questions, which I'm going to share with you in a minute, we discovered that at that college that she went to for criminal justice, she met her fiance. And I said, you don't think there is a reason for you and him to both go to that college, whether you're doing something with criminal justice or not? And she thought, oh my gosh, I never looked at it that way. And then we dug further and she was a medium. And she said, I became a medium when my fiance passed away. And I said, so not only were you supposed to meet him, but he led you to what you're supposed to be doing. On top of that, she did work with the police as a psychic medium, enter the criminal justice, right? So sometimes we think this makes no sense, but when you start probing into it deeper, you start finding and uncovering, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, that's right. If this didn't happen, then that wouldn't have happened, right? When I look back to a couple of the jobs that I had to leave, every job I've had, I've always quit because I've kind of gotten to a point where I couldn't take anymore in the past. Obviously now I work for myself, but there was one job that it was just a really terrible experience. It was my first job out of college. There was a lot of stuff going on there. I was so miserable that I just left. I just said, you know what? I didn't even have another job. I said, I'm out of here. I can't do it. And I left. And I wound up going to my next job. I was in the magazine industry. I was a writer. I've always been a writer. And I wound up going to my next job. And in that job, I met a woman who was the art director there, who wound up working with me years later. We stayed friends, even though both of us wound up leaving that job. We stayed friends, and I wound up meeting her, who she later became the person who helped me design and publish my magazine in the later stages of it. She wasn't the one who originally started it with me, but then I went to her and said, listen, I really need somebody to do this for me. And she wound up she was unemployed at the time, and it worked out perfectly, but I needed to meet her. Do you understand? I needed to meet her. And so that was a reason why I wound up leaving that one job and going to the next one. Now, eventually that job went down as well. It was right after 9/11. They were firing all these people. I wound up with a boss that wasn't the boss that originally hired me. He basically tortured me. And I remember the publisher begging me to stay, saying, I know he's a nightmare. And I was like, I gotta go. And I left and went to my next job. In that job, I wound up meeting the person who actually helped me design the very first issue of Elevated Existence magazine, no longer being published, but this was what got me on my path, right? So every place I went, and at one point I tried to leave that job, and I remember I interviewed for this position, and I was like so close to getting it, and then it fell through. And then all of a sudden, within a month of that falling through and me saying I might as well just stay at this company, in comes the new person who then helps me start, I'm still friends with her today. She's an amazing designer. So we think, oh my gosh, why are these horrible things happening to me? Why do I keep getting, having this bad luck? It's like the universe is just moving you to the next thing. The universe is moving you to the next person, the next situation, the next place you need to go, the next thing you need to learn, the next thing you need to develop, the next place that you need to be in order to help people, in order to help yourself. The universe is moving you. And I find that if we don't move ourselves, the universe will keep making the situation a little more annoying and a little more annoying until we either go or we're pushed out, because the universe is literally like pushing you like a little bird out of the nest, saying, you got to go, you're not going, poosh, I'm pushing you. Now you're going to fly because you have no choice, right? So that's what I find. And the thing is, it's so hard to believe. It's so hard to believe. Please know that if you're going through anything right now, I get that it's very hard to believe that everything happens for a reason. I can look at my own mother's death when I was 22 years old from, I saw her sudden death from a brain aneurysm. And I look at it now and I know we were contracted for her to go at that point because it catapulted me at 22 years old into a whole new spiritual world, into a whole new path that has led me to exactly where I am today. So I can even look at the sudden death of my mother and say, there was a purpose to this. This led me to something else. Okay. So I know that if you're going through something right now, it is hard to hear, but I promise you, once you start finding some of that proof in your own life, it's easier to go through the things that are rough because you can find that faith because you have that proof that the universe has your back no matter what. And that even if you can't see it right now, it's coming down the line. Okay. So I want to just explain to you just the quick exercise that you can do to try and find this in your own life. And it's called my follow the footsteps exercise. So basically you can pick any major event in your life. Most people will pick something, a loss of a job, a loss of a friendship, the death of a loved one. Most people will pick something bad because they always think like, it's hardest for me to feel that everything happens for a reason when something bad happens, right? Or when something, off happens, or when something that I don't deem good happens, right? So just pick something. You don't have to do this now. You can do this on the replay. This is going to live on my Facebook and my YouTube and my Instagram. But anyway, it's in my book, The Universe is Talking to You. I have an exercise called Follow the Footsteps on page 129. The purpose of this is so you can start finding the synchronicity in your life. And so you can start finding the proof that I'm talking about, so that when the bottom falls out, so that when something seemingly goes wrong, you won't suffer as much because you'll go, oh, no, I know this is leading me somewhere and I have no idea where it's leading me. And it's certainly not going to be shown to me right now, but I'm just going to trust. And then eventually, when you start shifting your mindset around it, you will start noticing, right? Okay. So for the follow the footsteps exercise, I just want you to pick an event that was significant in your life. Again, it could be a happy event. It could be I got married. It could be I met my spouse. Whatever you want to do. I just know most people will pick something, miserable because they really want to see like the proof of it, right? So pick that thing. And usually I always tell people do this with a pen and paper, but pick that one event that you want to trace. And you can do this again and again, but just pick that one event. So I could pick the death of my mother, leaving my first job, leaving that second job, whatever it might be, right? So I want you to ask yourself and see what the answer comes through. The first question is, why was this event or person, if it was meeting a person, significant in your life? Why was this event or person significant in your life? So for me, if I wanted to take the job, it would be, that first job was like, oh my God, it was a significant event. I remember it was less than a year after my mother had passed away suddenly. And there was just a lot going on. I don't want to say specifics, but there was a lot going on and I was being made to just be tortured and miserable. And I needed to get out of this job. And like I said, I left. I mean, I literally walked out. So why was that significant? Because it was a huge thing. And now here I left the job. I didn't even have another job, right? I literally just left and was like, gosh, I hope I find another job. Okay. Second question. How did you meet this person, or what or who led to this event happening? Right. So again, for me, I would say, well, I was made to be extremely unhappy. It was a difficult situation that I was in. I was no longer feeling good. I had just gotten over, I was still grieving my mother, and it was a toxic situation that I needed to get myself out of it. So, why was the event or person significant in your life? How did you meet the person, or what or who led to the event happening? Next question, what had to happen before this in order for it to occur? What had to happen before this in order for it to occur? So I can look and say, well, I had to leave that job in order to meet that friend of mine who helped me with my magazine years later. So I had to leave that job in order for that to happen, right? Like I had to obviously get the job and go through it, but then I had to if I did not leave that job and look for another job, I would have never met this other woman, right? Who then helped me years later. So what had to happen before this in order for it to occur? What did meeting this person or experiencing this event lead you next? Where did meeting this person or experiencing this event lead you next? What was the next dot? Well, my next dot was a brand new company. I got a promotion. I actually wound up making more money. These is a bunch of things that came out of me being basically forced to quit this job because I was miserable. I wound up getting another job. I wound up making more money, getting a better title, meeting that woman who then became significant in my life when I started my business. I had no idea when I met her in, oh my gosh, it had to have been 2001, that I would be starting a business in 2008. And you know, about a year into it, asking her to help me lay out the magazine with graphics, right? Never did I think that. But that had to happen to get me to this other company, to get me more money, to get me a higher title, to get me to this person who was going to help me, right? So what had to happen? Where did meeting this person or experiencing this event lead you next? That was the last one. And then what might not have happened? Some of these questions blur together, but I like to tackle it from every angle. What might not have happened if you didn't meet this person or experience this event? What might not have happened? My gosh, she, you know, again, I'm going with the first job. I wouldn't have had, I would have gone crazy trying to find someone else that I didn't trust and already know to help me. And then again, if I'm going to go with that second job where I said I met that second person, if you're on here, Anna, hello. She convinced me to start my own business. I didn't even think. I was complaining about how I wanted to write about spirituality and how, you know, all these magazines and spirituality were in Arizona and California, and I didn't want to relocate. And this was before working from home was normal. And she was just like, why don't you just start your own magazine? This was in 2008. Everything's going online now. Just start your own thing. And I was like, you're out of your freaking mind. Well, not only did she give me the idea to do it, but she helped me actually create it. So it's like, if sometimes if you don't go through these things and you don't move from job to job, or you don't go from place to place, or you don't move locations or whatever it is, you're not meeting the people that you're meant to meet. And sometimes those things are not pleasant to go through, if that makes sense. And then the last question is, what did this person or this event teach you or help you to understand? Because sometimes well, I shouldn't say sometimes, I should say always, there's a lesson in the things that happen to us. So sometimes it's to get you to the next thing. Sometimes it's to get the lesson to change you in some way so you are now open to the next thing. But I promise you, there's always a dot. And sometimes when we're in this dot, we can't see the next one. We can't see what's coming next. We have no idea, and we are so blindsided in the moment, and we just think this is a horrible situation. But because I have found so many of these synchronicities in my past, because I have found so many things that have happened to me that I have thought at the moment, oh my gosh, I can't believe this didn't work out the way that I wanted it to work out. And then months later, I realized, oh, thank God that didn't work out, because this would have been really bad. And now I'm doing this, right? The more you start opening yourself up to that and seeing that in your own life, the easier it will be for you to handle anything that life throws at you, because you are going to know that there's always a reason, and it's always eventually, because it doesn't always happen in our timeline and it doesn't always happen quickly, but always eventually it is leading you to something better. It is leading you to something that you need. It is leading you to something that you desire, that if all of these other things had not happened, you wouldn't have gotten there. So I hope all of that makes sense. And it's really just, it's such a powerful exercise. And the reason I'm bringing it up again, of course, because of my own life, there was something going on with someone in my life, and there was like a delay to something that they were trying to do. And I was like, well, God, and I'm saying to myself, like, everything happens for a reason. So there must be a reason for this delay. And in doing that, I sort of intuitively came up with something and told this person, and they were like, that might be it. And I was like, listen, we don't know. Let's watch it play out, right? Let's be excited for what this is, because we know there's a reason for this delay. So let's see how it plays out. We'll see if I'm right, or see if this is the reason for the delay, right? And I started thinking about it, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's such a different perspective and a different way to look at life and a different way to walk through life when you start looking at the fact that everything happens for a reason. It dials down the suffering, it dials down the sting. And that is what I have found, and why I even wrote the book about signs and synchronicity, which is behind me, and created that exercise, because I thought, oh my gosh, I've seen so many of these things in my own life. How can I help other people find them? And that's where that follow the footsteps exercise comes, because often we cannot see it in the present moment. We have to look back to find the synchronicities, to trace all those dots. We usually have to go back. But once you go back enough times and find that proof, totally huge game changer for how you're going to move through life in the future. Okay, let me just see. I want to just check if there's any comments that I was missing. Hold on. Oops. Oh my gosh, I love this. Hold on. So Chastity, those of you on Instagram, I'm just going to read to you from Facebook. This is a comment from Facebook. Chastity said, I took a little over a week off from work and taking short-term disability, and I needed it for mental health. And I was able to see my second mama, who's leaving for Oklahoma, and we got to read my cards, letting me know I'm not doing what I should be in life. I needed this time. Yes, exactly. When you and the thing is, the more that you start being open to this, the more that you're going to find these reasons for everything quicker. You're not going to have to go back 12 years once you do this exercise enough. Like you said, you realize, like, oh my gosh, I needed this time. This was, look how much benefit you got in that short-term disability, right? For your own mental health. It's amazing. And I love the fact that you see it already. And that's the thing, is once we start getting it, it just, we can notice it faster. We can notice it quickly. Let's see, hold on. Oh my gosh, I love this. You guys with the comments. So this is also another Facebook comment. Geraldine O'Keefe says, everything happens for a reason. I suffered from a severe postpartum depression in 1996. It was painful and horrible. But in 2000, I became a volunteer for the Postpartum Resource Center of New York, and I saved women's lives. I became an international author in 2008, and I became a postpartum doula and a birth photographer. I mean, that is the perfect example of suffering leading you to something. I remember years ago, I interviewed the medium James Van Praagh when I still had the magazine. And he had written a book specifically focused on children in the afterlife and parents losing children. And I remember him saying to me, and I think he says it in the book as well, that so many parents who have lost children go on to help other parents that have lost children. Like, they sort of get through and they realize, like, oh my gosh, my child's death led me to do this to help other people. So many times you can see something that comes out of something, right? And honestly, losing a child, I don't think there's any more painful thing to go through. I mean, even James Van Praagh said that of all the people that he's done mediumship readings for, losing a child is probably the most devastating thing that a person can go through. And if someone can find a reason and meaning in that, that's incredible. But I love that you shared that story. Thank you so much. Let's see. Um, oh my gosh, Mary, you're so funny. I have so many links that you're mentioning right now. Um, Michelle says there are so many things. Yes. Hi, Michelle. Um, yes, Mary, that's the thing is once you start looking for a reason, once you start getting your brain, and that's why I say find the proof in your own life, because once I can tell you a million trillion stories, and until you find the actual proof in your own life, it doesn't hit home in the same way. That's why I want you to find the proof in your own life, and then once you find the proof in your own life, you can start training yourself to go, okay, there's a reason for this. I'm going to be on the lookout for it because I know it's going to show up, right? I know eventually it's going to show up as life continues to play itself out. Um, hold on. Uh, oh, hold on 1 second. Meryl, looking forward to finding out why we had a house fire 1 month before we closed on the sale. And the town we were buying a cafe to run flooded the same weekend. Oh my gosh, we are displaced and looking at 6 to 8 months reconstruction. So hard to see in the moment, but I have to believe it is for a reason. Listen to me. First of all, I am so sorry for what you are going through because that is just a pile on. That's like a multi-car pile up, what you have going on there right now. Try and do this exercise for some of the other stuff that's happened to you so that you can feel a little bit better in terms of I know this is leading me somewhere. I have to say one of the best phrases that I have for when things don't go the way that we are planning them to go and it makes no sense why all of a sudden everything just goes to crap, right? What I always say to myself and my friends and my clients and my family, I always say rejection is God's protection. Rejection is God's protection. If something is not working out, I promise you it's because something more amazing is in your future. I don't know what it is. We never know what it is in the moment, right? But if you keep in mind, this is leading me to something better and I'm going to look for that, it will start revealing itself and you will start seeing it. But it's easier when you find proof in your own life in the past of things that have happened to help you get through current circumstances. But I always say rejection is God's protection. When a door closes, when something seems to destruct around me, I'm being protected from something. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. You know what I mean? It's you don't always know what it is in the moment, but I always find that if a door is shutting, there's a reason a door is shutting on that. And you're being protected from something. That's how I choose to look at it. That is what I have seen in my own life. But I am sending you and your family and everyone love and light. And I hope that things start shifting quicker than not for you. So you can start seeing some of that meaning and that reason and some help. Let's see. Oh, pilgrimage. Oh, she's the second mama to Chastity who's talking before. I'm going to Oklahoma to start a recovery farm because of the death of my nephew and the struggle of my son Devin and my daughter in heart Chastity. That is amazing. That is amazing. This is what I'm saying. Like, there's a reason Chastity is in your life, right? There's a reason all of these things are coming together and you now feel the calling to do this. It's like all of these things, the universe has all of these things happening so that you can get to what you're supposed to do. And I love that. I absolutely love that. Let's see. John Quinn says, I lost a dear friend in the World Trade Center attacks and it completely altered my life. Oh my gosh, so many people. So many incredible things happened to me in honoring my friend in the aftermath that I self-published a book about. I wrote a memorial and a poem for her that brought so many wonderful people into my life who I'm still friends with today. And my friend sends me signs all the time. I'm so blessed to call her my friend. I love these examples, you guys. You are helping someone by sharing these examples because, I can give examples all day long and people will be like, well, that's just you, Tammy. And it's not. But by sharing these examples, if there's someone who's watching this who feels like the earlier person who was going through all that stuff, I think it was Meryl, to hear these things, it gives you hope that, okay, maybe I am headed somewhere better. Okay, maybe things are going to start getting better and working out and shifting in some way, and I will eventually see it. Let's see. You're welcome, Meryl. Listen, keep us updated. Come back on these weekly Spirit Boosts and keep me updated because I want to know I'm telling you, something good is going to come out of this for you, and I'm excited to hear about it. It's just miserable in the moment. I get it. Let's see. Oh, Geraldine says, "What is the title of your book?" I don't know if you're asking me or the person who is self-published. If you were asking John, I don't know what the title is of his book. Mine is "The Universe is Talking to You," so I don't know. Just because I read that comment, so I don't know if you were asking John or not. So yeah. So listen, yes, Mary says we're all going to pray for you. Yes, everybody, please pray for Meryl because she's got a lot of stuff going on. Everybody, just send a quick prayer for her. Not only that, I always say, not only that everything works out, but that she can handle it smoothly and that she can have the strength to get through it until she starts seeing that light at the end of the tunnel, until you start seeing why something is happening. That's the biggest thing, is you just sort of need strength to get through it while it's happening, to get to the other side. So sending prayers to Meryl and her family and everybody that's involved in all of that. And definitely keep us posted, please, because it'll be an amazing story once we find out why this is all happening. But praying for your strength during it, because that is not an easy situation. Okay. Oh, you're welcome, Meryl. 100%. All right. So listen, you guys, thank you for being here. I always say I hope this has helped you in some way. I thank all of you who have shared your stories. If you like this video, please hit the like button for me to help tell the interwebs that you like my content, and definitely share it or tag someone who needs to hear this, who needs to do this exercise, who might be going through something right now, and if they find proof in their past, it will help them. Here's the cat again. Those of you on Instagram can see her. And have an amazing and beautiful weekend. I always say it, and I'm always going to say it. Do something that brings you joy this weekend. Do something that uplifts you. Do something that boosts your vibration, that is just for you, because you deserve it. And you need to shift your energy. Whatever is going on in your life, just do. I don't care if it's going to get that latte. I don't care if it's going to window shop somewhere. I don't care if it's buying a new book. I don't care if it's going for a walk in nature. Whatever, taking a bath, lighting some candles, doing some journaling, whatever makes you feel good, cooking, baking, the list goes on and on. Thank you all for being here with me. I will be back, of course, next week at noon Eastern. I'm working on lining up some special guests, because I like to have them every now and then on here with me, because I always think it's so much fun, and all of you guys seem to enjoy that. And I always like to bring in people that I really love and respect, and who are friends, and we just have a good time. So stay tuned for that. And thank you all for being here. Have an amazing weekend. And I'm sending you all love. Bye, everyone.